Record. Hello, everyone. My name is Nora Gonzalez, and thank you to our summit. Welcome to our summit, Ignite the Leader in You. Go from passive employee to promoted and in charge. And our special guest speaker today is Alan Willett. And Alan has been involved in high technology since crashing the network of his high school in 1976.
That is true.
Wow, that's amazing. By hacking into a Star Trek gaming program. I take it you like Star Trek, right?
I did, and I still do.
Well, thank you. So since then, Alan has been a leader of various organizations and teams throughout his career. Alan is the author of Leading the Unleadable, a SoundView Business Book of the Year. His next book, Lead with Speed, is coming out in 2020. So thank you, Alan, for being with us tonight.
A pleasure.
Thank you so much. Before we get into our questions, I did want to ask you, can you share some history on, what occurred or changed in your life that put you on this path to be of service?
Be of service. Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I grew up on a dairy farm, and it has been in the farm since the early 1800s. So it's almost 200 years now.
Yeah, it's a long time.
It is for the United States. It turned out in Europe that some people think that's kind of quaint.
Wow.
Their family farms, 1,000 years old.
Yeah, so 200 is nothing, not much.
But I have to say, when after my parents did pass, I was doing some archaeology. And one of the things I dug up there was these old articles about my mom and dad and all the service they did. So I feel I grew up in a service-oriented family. In spite of just being a dairy farmer, my dad also was on the city tax collector. City. There was no city. The closest stoplight to us was a 30-minute drive, and they really didn't need that stoplight. So the area tax collector, my mom was running various organizations on the church board, on the school board, just service oriented. So I feel like I've carried on the family tradition, not in farming, but in the service in that way. I've always been, it seems, with the idea to help others get great.
I think that's great because we all need, I think, now as I do this more often, is we all need a coach, some kind of support guide and accountability to ensure and maybe measure that we are moving forward.
Yes, I agree. I have many great mentors, and I am mentoring many people myself. It's a tradition we must continue.
Yes, and I think that's great because when we give, we receive as well, right?
Oh, absolutely. I learn very, very much from the mentoring I do with others. As much as I learn from my mentors, I learn from mentoring.
Yes, we're always learning from everybody.
Yes.
Yes. So thank you. So our first question is, in your first book, Leading the Unleadable, you start with a leadership crisis point. Will you please tell us more about that?
Oh, sure. Let me see. Well, what is a leadership crisis point? I just find that many leaders at some point throw up their hands and just don't want to do it anymore. And I think that's a leadership crisis point. I've hit that myself much earlier in my career, where I was viewing work as this long, desolate trudge.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you've been there, you felt that yourself.
Yes.
The amazing thing is, I've also run ultramarathons and things like that. And I know that I have been running ultramarathons like up mud hills, across cold creeks, and loving it. Yeah. So why was I looking at work as this desolate trudge across the barren landscape. It was really, it was a mindset thing, and I had to change it. And that's what I really helped a lot of other leaders do, is to really to accept the hard parts of leadership. And there's really four big parts that are hard to me. That whenever you're leading, you're actually leading people. Believe it or not, a lot of people are surprised when they end up leading people. Even when they wanted to be a manager, then they find out that means leading people.
Yes.
I've talked to some CEOs that had a great idea and they started a company, but they never realized it meant leading people. So that's one, accept that you're a leader of people. Two, accept that leadership comes with a taxonomy of trouble. You know, I've had a leader before tell me, you know how much good news a day I get? About this much. You know how much bad news I get a day? I keep it on the screen, but it goes off the screen.
And that's why the mindset is very important.
Oh, it is, because the final part, the final hard thing, it's your fault even when it wasn't.
So explain that one.
Okay, I learned this from one of my mentors. And I really took it to heart, and I really tell other people this too. Let's say you took on a new job. You're going to now be the project leader for a project that's already in crisis, already behind, the customer's already pissed. Well, whose fault is it? Doesn't matter.
No.
It's your fault. Even if it's not. It's your fault even if it's not, because it's your responsibility to fix it. It's your responsibility to get them out of the hole, to get the customer back on your side, to get your team remotivated, to get the project back on track. It's your fault even when it's not.
And I think showing that responsibility, when your team sees you take that responsibility, it helps build that momentum within the team to strive to want to do better and to correct whatever that was that went wrong.
Absolutely. So really, here's a very simple statement. Once we accept that we're actually leading people, that it's our fault, that it's a taxonomy of trouble we have, and that it's our fault even when it's not. Once we accept those three facts, it gets a bit easier.
Yeah.
The other thing you have to do is really accept what I call the path of exceptional leadership. If you accept the path of exceptional leadership, then you can turn it from the desolate trudge into a path of joy.
Yes. Wow. That sounds great. I like that. So that's the other question is, what does it mean to accept the choice of being an exceptional leader?
Well, I guess I led right into that one.
Yes.
Well, I talked about the ultra marathon versus the desolate landscape. The first thing is actually to choose, to actually choose that this is something you want to do, that you do want to lead people, that you do want to accept these responsibilities, and that you want to have a heck of a lot of fun while doing it. People don't want to run ultra marathons to be miserable.
No.
Even though they know they will be. So not everybody out there is a runner, but there's things we choose to do even though they're really hard.
Yes.
So anybody that has run a ultra marathon, if you want to read about them, everybody that doesn't knows there's going to be parts where they're absolutely miserable. But they also know there's going to be parts of absolute joy.
Yeah. So how do you get them past the miserable point? I mean, just be honest that it's going to be hard.
Oh, it is. But if you choose that path and say, this, it's like JFK said, John Kennedy said about going to the moon. We choose this to do this, not because it is easy, but because it is hard. Because it is hard, because in doing so, we're going to be able to improve our education system, our ability to accelerate our joy of living, our ease of living, all these things. He really believed that it was the moon itself is just a symbol for the progress we can make in so many other areas. We do this not because it is easy, but because it is hard. And so that's the first step to get past that misery. And then, the other part is, I believe you have to measure success differently.
Okay.
And I talk about this a lot in the book, but so let me just give you two or three quick examples. In the book, Leading the Unleadable, by the way, because I think leading with joy is a lot of the unleadable part, which we can talk more about that, by the way, which is, I don't like to think of it leading the unleadable. I think it's more like unwrapping the gifts of the difficult.
Yes, so, that's a good one. Yes, let's come back.
So, some of the classic measures are, like you deliver things on time at cost, meet the customer requirements. Yes, those are important, and that's good, but it's also boring.
Yes.
That can be a trudge. So instead, I think here's three things to measure differently, I think, if you want the path to exceptional leadership.
Okay.
Measure the positive difference for your customers. Have you really made an impact in your customers' ability to get their job done? Have you helped your customers? By the way, this could be your customers as your upper level managers or the end users of your product. I think those are both very important. Have you made your manager's life easier? If you're just bringing them a host of trouble without a host of solutions and without a thing that you're on their side and know that it's hard, you're not making that positive impact. So measure that positive impact. Measure the difference you're making for your customers, both as a business and as individuals. Did you bring a sparkle to their day? Did you make them laugh? Even if you're telling them bad news, did you say, hey, I got bad news?
But you bring the good news. Yeah, but like you said, you bring some kind of solution.
I'm here to help you fix it.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Like that.
Watch that the energy out is exceeding the energy in, both for yourself and those that you lead. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So have more energy out, you said, right? Than the energy in.
Just take for example, leading a meeting. Leading a meeting, a weekly meeting can be a trudge, or it's failing if you have less energy when you leave the meeting than when you came into the meeting.
Okay.
If you lead a meeting such that you have more energy leaving it, and everybody has more energy leaving it than they had coming in, you've had a successful meeting. Most people don't measure success that way. And that's one of the big ones for me.
Yeah, because I haven't heard of that either. So that is really good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And here's the final one. My kids, me too, we're gamers. We like playing games. Video games, basketball games, whatever. You want to power up, you want to level up, you want to get a high score. Here's the way I like to measure it now. How many people have I helped come to great success? One of the high scores I'm really noting lately is I've helped a lot of people get higher level positions. Individual engineers that are now CIOs or CTOs, high level positions.
That's great.
Just people being promoted after I mentored and helped them. It's so gratifying.
Yes, and that's a great quality of a leader, because especially when you have teams, is you want to support them, because I think that's what you're saying is how many people have you helped. So helping your teammates, if you're in a team, when they're stuck, bringing solutions, like you said, as well, a positive impact is very important.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah.
I'll make one final point on this, if you don't mind.
I'm sorry?
About accepting the change. I'm going to make one final point, if that's okay.
Yes.
This is in the book, but I just love this story. I took my daughter to a course for driver's edge, it's called, where race car drivers, before she got her license, I was requiring this, that she had to drive in extreme conditions and learn how to handle it.
Hmm.
And you're in a car and they have this huge open lot where they take you through cones, and they have a part where your car is guaranteed to spin out because it's basically a wet slick, and you have to do a sharp turn at a high speed, and your car is going to go like this. And one of the drivers my daughter was riding with, for the first 3 or 4 times he hit the spin out, he just took his hands off the
Wow.
wheel. Oh my God.
That's scary.
Just, oh my God. But he finally learned that you don't have control in those situations, but you do have influence. You can get control back over the car. And to me, that's the final part that I have to say for accepting the exceptional leadership journey is,
Uh-huh.
is none of this is easy. And you have nothing that really is in your control. But you do have great influence. If you focus on how do I improve my influence on all these success factors that I talked about, you will have a joyful journey, because the joy of learning is extraordinary.
Wow, that is beautiful. So we do have influence. Yes.
We always have influence. It's rare that we have control over many things, but really it's our ability to see reality, accept reality, and deal with it, which is the key attribute of being successful.
Wow. That's very nice. Very nice. And I think a lot of these things that you're mentioning, I mean, it's not like some people that have been with the company and they say, I know how to do everything. Is you may not know, you may know how to do all those things, but these qualities may not always show up for you. And that might be what's keeping you from getting that next.
What I'm really saying, by the way, exceptional leadership is a lot harder than being a good manager.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a lot messier, because exceptional leadership isn't accepting the status quo. It's always pushing against barriers. It's sometimes swimming up the cultural, you're swimming upstream in the culture of your organization, because you're not just there trying to be a good manager within the existing culture. You're trying to change it for the better. This is messy.
Yeah.
This is hard. And sometimes it's actually dangerous.
Yes. And it's actually,
Dangerous, by the way, in that you can get fired, because when you're swimming upstream against culture, you could make some people angry, and those people could be in the higher levels of the organization.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, when you have a team, if they're behind you, I was telling someone, you can't really be a leader if you have no followers. And all these things are, the positive impact, and everything that you shared is bringing everybody with you. It's having them with you alongside, influencing them, and just bringing positive impact to them. I think that's great. It's one way to stand together. And then, like you said at the beginning, it's if it's not your fault, it's still your fault.
That's right. It is.
Yeah. So I think it all goes together very well. So were those the obligations? Are those part of the obligations of the exceptional leadership?
No.
What are the obligations?
Well, I have to say, you said it's bringing everybody along. Almost. I want to bring everybody along. But to me, I'll say there's 4 big obligations. There's more than that, but let's just highlight 4 right now.
Okay.
You have an obligation to help to your clients, to help them be successful. This is, by the way, oftentimes I'm in the situation now as a consultant where my client has end users. My client might be an organization, like I've worked with Oracle, NASA, a lot of other people you've heard of. And so I have clients in there, and I'm helping them be successful in their organization, my clients, but I'm also trying to help them make their customers, their end users, successful. So I think that's one of the first obligations. The next one is to ensure that those you're leading can be successful. But it's, by the way, it's making sure the whole group is successful. So your obligation is to the group, to the group, to the group, which means I do have an obligation to help, try to help every single individual. But if there is a single individual that is going to harm the group, you may have an obligation to remove that person from the group. I'm first going to, by the way, I try to save them, but I have a whole chapter dedicated to this, by the way, called Remove or Improve. And it's really not an on-off switch. It's more of a rheostat. There's a lot of other choices between remove and improve.
Wow. Remove or improve.
Yeah. So obligation 1, help your clients, your customers be successful. Obligation 2, help your team be successful. Obligation 3, help individuals where it does not violate number 2.
Okay.
And number 4, there's a fourth one, which is very important to me. Do good in the world.
Do good in the world.
If you want to be an exceptional leader, do good in the world. And I think that's a obligation to try to help people that are also doing good, that you're mindful of what impact you're having by the work that you're doing, the impact on the people you're doing, and the impact of the work they are doing.
Wow.
Do good.
Do good in the world. So someone who's in an office, like in a, I don't know, what kind of good would they do in the world?
In the office?
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, first, I mean, if you're a leader, you come in like this, kind of depressed and like, all right, we got to do the stupid things we got to do. Or do you come in with a smile and with, we got some hard stuff to do, let's see how we do today. Let's see what we learn. Let's see what challenges we have. Let's see how we can help each other be wildly successful at this impossible thing we have to get done. That's one part. The other part is, are you building Ponzi schemes like Madoff that are going to bankrupt tons of people? That's not good in the world. You could, by the way, you could be leading people wonderfully to do great harm to many others. No, that's not doing good in the world. Sorry, you could be a good leader of those that are doing harm, but I don't, and you could actually help them all be better people, etc. But, you know, so the do good in the world is also not an on-off switch. It's more of, again, there's many clicks in the wheel.
Yeah.
But I hope we can all keep working harder to figure out how to truly make the world a better place for all of us.
Yes, I think so too. And as we keep working and as you keep mentoring more people, you're adding more people to that group.
I hope so. I actually know so, and I hope to do a lot more.
No, you are. And what I like about the qualities that you bring in is it's almost like stepping away a little bit and looking at ourselves, how we are treating others, those around us, and how we're supporting them to get up and, you know, not just leading them, but helping them themselves become leaders as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So I do have another question is you have, on the book, it says leading the unleadable. So the unleadable could be, are those like different personalities or are those just, I don't know. How would you describe an unleadable person?
Sure. Okay. One is, my publisher loved that title. So, but let's just say something more boring. There's really some difficult situations you hit. And in the subtitle, it gives a little more description. You know, how to, what's it say? Cynics, divas, mavericks, and other. So, and by the way, to me, what I say is you actually need cynics. You need divas. You need mavericks. you need all the personality types. I think, you know, if you take a walk in any woods, you see immense diversity. Like every leaf on a tree is different. All the trees are different, even if they're the same species and subgenres, etc., and have similar characteristics. They're different. I travel the world and I see people in India, South Africa, Ireland, England, Mexico. You know, I could go on.
Yes.
United, and there's, it's like they're all living in different places because they are. And there is different cultural attributes and different things, but yet they're also all people.
Yeah.
So there's similarities and differences, and we can learn so much from them,
Yeah.
such as the difficult personality types. By the way, like cynics, we need those. Mavericks, we need those, etc. But when they cross a red line, they're disruptive to the organization. And that's where we have an obligation as exceptional leaders to help unwrap their gifts and make sure that we get them back, giving their gifts in a way that's useful. Here, cynics, most people have a hard time thinking how cynics are useful. Okay, I'm a blue sky thinker. I come up with big ideas and I come up with them rather quickly. And I have absolutely some cynics I lean on to make sure they can poke my ideas full of holes so I know how to make them better. Make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. It does make sense. It makes
That's
sense
what,
because, yeah, I think if we're all the same, then we won't move forward as much as having the
oh,
variety.
yeah, without the cynics, I can just have ideas that fall flat with a lot of wasted effort
Yeah.
because they're not implemented well. But
Mhm.
so where cynics can be bad, though, where they cross a red line, and I've seen this, is
Mhm.
where any idea that comes up, they shoot it full of holes before
Mm.
anybody else gets to build on it and think about it and get excited about it. And they stop progress because
Yeah.
usually these cynics, the ones that cross the red line, are
Mhm.
also charismatic and funny. So I've seen this happen and spread through an organization where this one individual was so good at killing ideas at the start, people would laugh, the people would shut down and not bring
Mm.
up anything because they didn't want to be the victim of
All
his
right.
beautiful
Yeah,
because his wit
no.
and everybody else made everybody in the room laugh except for the person that come up with the idea.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And
Wow.
so when that shuts down an organization and starts to spread across even other teams, you know you have a problem.
Yes.
They've crossed the
Yeah.
red line.
I think,
Yeah, go
yeah.
ahead.
No, I was saying it reminds me sometimes when we have meetings, it's like it's okay to bring in your comments and all that as long as they're positive and effective because nobody wants to hear someone complain all the time.
There's a place for it, by the way. We
Yes.
don't want to hear anybody complain all the time, but we do. What we want is to make a space for
Mhm.
the cynics or whatever De Bono called the black hat thinkers.
Mhm.
Anything like that, you have to create the space. There's various facilitation techniques to do that. um,
Wow.
you
Yeah.
know,
Thank you. But it makes sense to have the mix because I think that's how the whole group gets to bloom. Like you said, you need that person to put the ideas into effect, and then you bring them up. So it's that's what makes a team.
right. So the Leading Unleadable book, it
Hmm.
talks a lot about the very different personality types that can be disruptive and how as a leader you can get them to add their gifts in a way that makes the whole team better.
Yeah. And I think it's that's very important too. Another thing I've noticed is sometimes if we're I've seen in some teams when one person is very joyous, and then when you see other people, you see them through that same lens, but everybody's got their own personality, and so they can't all be the same. I've seen some people try to keep everybody in the same alignment that they're in, and it's not easy. Well, it's impossible to do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
You'll see in the book, though, that impossible to be perfect, but very possible to be good.
Yeah.
In the book, it's organized in, by the way, three major parts. There's a fourth, but the first part is about the mindset for leading the unleadable, which is, appreciating every leaf is different, every person
Mhm.
is different. Um, the part two is about reaction, which is about how to spot trouble, how to deal with the trouble, how to get people feedback that leads to a positive difference,
Mhm.
how to build a bridge to successful transformation, and how to decide whether to remove or improve, or something in between.
Mhm.
Part three of the book is dedicated to prevention.
Prevention.
Prevention, yes, um, because most leaders, in part three, it's really the mastery part. I think people can start this way, but usually they have to go through the difficult part of reacting to trouble. But you can actually
Mm.
prevent the cynics, divas, all the difficult situations and people from ever going out of control if you set up your teams in your organization
Mm.
in the right way. If you set the proper expectations of excellence and you follow through on your expectations of excellence, then if there
Wow.
is trouble, it's a lot easier to take care of it, but it often completely prevents it.
Very nice. I like prevention.
Me too. Um, most organizations bring me in first for reaction, for trouble, but then we start to work on prevention. So one of my goals is that people start to hire me for prevention more than they do for reaction.
Yeah, I think prevention sounds great. I think because you're putting out there methods and whatever your programs are to help prevent all that from getting worse. And like you
From
said, you
even
don't want to you don't want to let the good people go because they have gifts that are untapped.
absolutely, many of the most difficult people are also the most talented.
Yes, the most delicate.
Yes.
Why, thank you. I don't know that I had any more questions. Let me see. Tell us about your book that's coming out next year, The Lead with Speed.
Oh, I'm so excited about that. Um, oh, in a nutshell, in a nutshell, um, life is often like a roller coaster in the dark, in my opinion.
Yes,
You don't know what
yes.
turns are coming. That's part of it. But the other part is too the hyper speed pressure that most leaders are under is just amazing. Um, the marketplace is such a global competition now, and with the mega corporations just really taking the innovations coming up, it's really so much pressure to do more faster all the time.
Yeah, it is.
So many organizations have come to me and say we need to go faster, and I say faster to where? How would you know? And because a lot of times what they're starting to do is try to do, for example, with research and development, do faster cycles. Their faster cycles aren't actually being more productive, they're actually slowing teams down. They don't know
Mm,
how to measure it, but it looks really good because people are sweating harder, but they're actually not getting more done. So
wow.
in the Lead with Speed book, I really talk a lot about how do you measure true speed and how do you set a direction for where you really want to go and how do you know you're getting there faster, and some of the really important ways to do it. For example, you know, I like playing strategic games too, and so they're easier than real life, but they're a good metaphor in some ways.
Mhm.
Because how you start a game of chess, for example, sets the foundation for how it ends. If you start
Mhm.
it fast and sloppy, it will end quick and decisively for your opponent.
Yes.
So if you start projects quick and sloppy, how they're going to end is slowly and excruciatingly painful. So what you really need to do, there's like 10 key things you need to do to start projects. I talk about that in the book. How do you start projects wildly successfully so that they end wildly successfully? And a lot of other aspects. I have a guidance systems for speed, what are the key elements of speed, and what do you need to do as a leader at the highest level and at the lowest level to enable that guidance system to drive an organization to go as fast as it can. With great joy and without a lot of sweat, because you can exhaust yourself without getting much done.
Yeah, especially like you said, it's doing it with speed, and people need to rest.
One of the peak parts is, which since we're near the end is probably appropriate to say, is how to finish and win with style.
Oh, I like that. Let's finish and win with style, right?
That's correct.
And then I know that you also have a gift for our audience today. Will you share that with us?
Oh, yes. I have I didn't bring a physical copy with me. But you'll provide the website with this. There's a web link to one of my small ebooks, about 30 pages, called The Mindset of Exceptional Leadership. And in there, you'll find things like how to find your leadership sweet spot.
I like that.
Which is, by the way, it's like with a tennis racket. If you ever played a tennis or something like that, if you get the sweet spot with a tennis racket, it feels great. If you miss it, it jars your entire body. And that's how the leadership sweet spot is too for people. If you find work is jarring, you're probably missing your sweet spot. Here's how to find it. Another one is, one of the other attributes in there is it teaches you how to improve your ability to improve. Because you can actually improve your ability to improve. Oh my gosh, you're going to get so much better, so much faster at everything that you want to do great at.
Thank you.
So that book is available for free. Just hit the download and you got it.
Yeah, and I think that's very important because mindset it's huge, and we think it's something that is not seen in the business, in just regular businesses versus at home or in other areas of your life. And mindset is huge. It could keep us from learning and expanding. So thank you for that gift.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yes. Well, I want to thank you tonight for going over the items on, let's see, we covered the leadership crisis point, and then the exceptional leader and exceptional leadership, the obligations. Thank you for going through all of those with us.
It was a pleasure. Yeah. I look forward to watching your future success.
Oh, thank you. And I appreciate your time and all your positive impact that you're making out there in the world.
Let's do good in the world together. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Ellen. And then goodbye to our audience as well.
Bye.
Goodbye. Thank you.